Hello everyone, this is Piyush Patel and I welcome you all to another interesting episode of the Insight Podcast. Today I have a very special and versatile guest with me on the show, and when I say versatile, by that I mean that she is an epitome of versatility. I am a huge fan of hers since her debut on the world stage in 2017, and personally speaking, she is one of the very few reasons behind my medicine a career. Currently working as a cancer research scientist and pursuing her master's in translational oncology at the Sheffield Medical School, England, and also an equestrian, a classical crossover vocalist, a Latin ballroom dancer, Miss England 2017 and Miss World 2017 second runner-up. Joining in is all the way from England, Stephanie
Hi,
Hill.
everyone.
Hello, Stephanie.
Hi, thank
Welcome
you so
to the
much for
show.
having me.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I am. Honestly, I was very nervous sometime before, but now I feel great.
There's no need for that, don't worry. I'm quite approachable, usually.
First of all, I would like to tell you how excited I am at the moment. I mean, you can make it out. And I was excited right from the day we got the confirmation that you are coming on our show. And now that you are sitting in front of me and we are having a live conversation here, I feel like it's a dream completely.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you so much for joining in. And it's an honor to have you on our show.
It's an absolute pleasure. No, really, thank you for having me. It's these kind of shows are very important. It's all about making sure that everyone hears everyone's stories. I think storytelling is just one of the best ways to inspire people.
Absolutely. So, Stephanie, 3 days before, on 18th of November, you celebrated the 3 years anniversary of Miss World 2017. So,
Yes.
Congratulations for that.
Thank you. It seems longer than 3 years, but also it doesn't seem like long ago at all. It's I know the concept of time is pretty complicated anyway, but yes, it's I was very nostalgic the other day. I did a situation where I was kind of assessing everything, revisiting old memories even, but it seems very kind of poignant to revisit those kind of memories and the work we did and almost, you know, the life before, and it was so different from how things are now. So yeah, I was very wistful the other day, whereas when I previously celebrated the anniversaries, I've been of course very celebratory, just like I was a couple of days ago, but yeah, a lot more kind of wistful reflection this time round. Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. And I must say that your reign was one of the most unique, or rather, I must say it was one of the most meaningful reigns I've ever seen, because I've been following pageants since 2013, and your reign had that effectiveness, and it was, you know, so promising that you are carrying out the work of your Beauty with a Purpose project till date, and you have stuck to what you said on the grand finale of Miss World stage, and this is really very commendable. And congratulations for that as well.
Thank you. I don't really know how to respond to that, I guess, because I understand a lot of pageant competitors, they do things for the purpose of competition, as anyone would, as an athlete would, as an academic would. When you're working towards something, you carry out various tasks that you believe you have to do in order to succeed. But I very much competed for the title of Miss World and then for the title of Miss England alongside my life. It was something that I didn't want it to be. I thought going to that competition and being inauthentic and behaving in a way that wasn't natural for me was completely and utterly pointless. If I was going to this competition and being a completely different person, then I was wasting my time and also wasting my country's time. So yes, as much as thank you for commending that, that's very kind of you, but that was always the plan for me. I was never doing it for the purpose of anything other than that was just what I was doing with my life.
And that is the real essence of beauty pageants. You need to carry out whatever you're doing throughout your life.
I think, it doesn't, you shouldn't be doing anything kind of in a way that that isn't, like, kind of deviates from what you are and what you represent. Absolutely. That's not the point of them at all, no.
So I would like you to please tell us what exactly was the question asked to you on the Miss World stage finale, and what answer did you give for that, and how are you giving justice to what you said on the stage that day? I mean, I know it all, but I would love to hear it from you.
Oh, it haunts me. No, I'm joking. The question was, in summary, if I had the chance to speak in front of world leaders, what would I want to say to them? And I was going through a phase at that point in my life where I was very passionate about accessible healthcare. I had just finished my undergraduate degree, and I had been, it very much come to like my periphery vision and my immediate vision that there is such an inconsistency in global health. And I was very ignorant to think that everybody had the right, and they do, but also everybody had access to what we have. And it isn't until you start branching out from your own country, from comparing other different models in different parts of the world, that you realize that's not the case. And literally just before I went to Miss World, that it really kind of built up in me, and I realized that this was something that I wanted to change. Obviously not as a single person, because nobody could, but I wanted to be part of the global movement in making healthcare accessible and consistent and standardized for everyone all over the world, because there's no reason it shouldn't be at all. And well, you can tell I'm getting very passionate about it now. It's still there even 3 years later. So yes, I responded saying that we need to work towards a consistent standard of healthcare around the world. And of course, now I've just finished my master's degree in translational oncology, which is cancer research in layman's terms as such. And now I'm working as a pediatric research assistant directly on clinical trials. I've worked in a clinical trials role before, and it's all about working internationally, collaborating internationally with people who are trying to make sure that the treatments that we're working towards, the vaccines that we're developing, are available to everyone. Because when it also comes to, let's say, the economic side of things, there is no point delivering these new therapies to one part of the population, because then it's not representative. So it has to be towards everyone. So that is a real blessing with clinical trials, that the whole purpose is that it goes out to everybody, every population, to make sure that everyone is represented, so that then we get representative data to look at developing these vaccines and treatments and therapies in the future. So yes, I'm very much doing what I promised, what I said I was passionate about. I didn't kind of throw away an answer. If anything, I did more than I thought I ever would. I've got into a clinical trials role now, so and here I am. From Monday next week, Monday to Friday every week, I'm doing that. So it's a real joy. It's a real blessing to be able to do that.
You stuck to what you said, and this is the best thing any beauty queen could ever do. So we're proud of you.
We're not all so lucky, because of course we all have incredible ambitions when we're given these titles, when we work towards them. We have these amazing dreams and things. We've given this huge platform. We think, this is it. This is where I can go with it. Oh, I want to do this, this, and this. I've got a year to sort it out, and then do it for the rest of my life. And life does get in the way, and it's hard to. Everybody sets out with so many dreams and ideas, and if you're very lucky if you kind of manage to achieve one of them. So I'm very fortunate that I'm managing to carry on with my advocacy, if I'm going to use, let's say, a pageant term as such. It's not the way I would describe it kind of usually, but that's exactly what it is. It is my advocacy, and I'm very blessed to be living it every day.
And I wish you all the luck for the future as well.
Thank you.
So as we know that Beauty with a Purpose has always been at the heart of Miss World. And let me tell you guys, the Stephanie's Beauty with a Purpose project is called the Magical Memories Foundation, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. So Stephanie, please elaborate what your project is all about.
Oh, so Magical Memories was, I say was because it's been inactive for quite a while now, certainly under the current circumstances, but it was providing kind of performance activities and kind of, I wouldn't say distraction techniques, but almost trying to remove reality for a little while for children who are going through hard times. So not just say particularly strenuous treatments, if they are going through bereavement, if they're going through any kind of difficulty. It was more performing as these very popular children's characters as a way of bringing a bit of magic, bringing a bit of fun. A lot of the work I did, I worked in hospices where the children would either be maybe towards the end of their lives, or maybe they were the siblings of children who had just passed. And whilst the parents were maybe going through the legalities of dealing with a child's death, I would be working with the children, with the play therapists as their favourite character for a couple of hours, whilst their parents were kind of going through the more unpleasant things, and also trying to make it so that the child feels comfortable in that environment if they're having to spend a lot of time there, maybe towards the end of a sibling's life or another member of staff, member of their family's life. And yeah, there were lots of different situations, lots of very upsetting situations. It really ruined me, that's for sure. And if anything, when I was working with Magical Memories, or when I was operating Magical Memories, I kind of swore off not working with children. I was thinking, I can't do this. I'm going to be working every day with very poorly children. This is destroying me. I was working maybe once every couple of weeks, and it would take me 2 weeks to recover because I would be such a state, you know, emotionally. And it was very emotionally taxing, both from a good side and the bad side, of course. There were a couple of the cases that I worked with did pass on, and you know, I was invited to funerals, and if I could I would attend, and that's a lot to kind of have to deal with. So yeah, that was I didn't anticipate that at all. I certainly didn't prepare myself, and that's why I said no, I can't work with children. I found it far too upsetting. Yet here I am working directly with children with maybe some quite complex conditions. So I make my own promises and break them, of course, as well. So as much as Magical Memories is kind of quieting down a little bit, I guess the ethos behind it is very much continuing with my everyday day job. Yes,
that is really great. So as we are talking about the Beauty with a Purpose project, let me tell you guys that we had the privilege of welcoming Stephanie along with the other 6 continental queens and Miss World 2000 in India for their project. So Stephanie, I would definitely love to hear it from you. How was your experience in our country?
How long have we got?
Was it for the first time you visited India?
It was the first time I'd ever visited India. I had been told by colleagues, by family members that it was going to be incredible. And we were so lucky when we were over there. We had such a wonderful experience. We worked almost in the 4 poles of India, in the north, east, south and west, or as much as we could. Pretty much we were on a flight every day of some sort. At 4 o'clock in the morning, we'd get off the flight and we'd go and work. We'd deliver workshops. We'd work with local government committees to be putting Manushi's project into place. And it was really wonderful. That was the first time I kind of worked internationally, again, not only as a representative, but also as a professional. My purpose was very much to kind of talk from, let's say, a demographic point of view from what we were doing, which could be implemented. I was talking about the rationale behind certain reasons for wanting to promote feminine hygiene awareness, and you know, these kind of models that we could implement and we could promote in a way that was kind of exchangeable, say from England to India, from Mexico to India, from Jamaica to India. We were all bringing something with us. My experience of India was fantastic. I didn't want to leave, none of us did, but I don't think anyone wanted to leave the tour anyway. It was absolutely fantastic, because every day we were just sat there thinking, we've done so much today, we've seen results, this is going to benefit people. It wasn't just about seeing an incredible country, it's the fact that we were leaving, you know, parts of ourselves behind as we went home, you know, the things that we believed in and the things that we were passionate about. So to have that, I know that was a once in a generation opportunity, not just a lifetime. I really do appreciate that. I had a wonderful time in India. I very much have plans to return in the future, 100%. I want to take my family, I want to take my loved ones over there. That's when life returns to normal. I will be coming back at my earliest convenience, that's for sure.
You're always welcome here.
Thank you.
As you visited India, can you please describe an Indian in your views? I mean, how do you think Indians are?
Well, the thing is, I work with so many. My local city, Sheffield, is very, very multicultural. So there's people from the Middle East, there's people from India, there's people from other parts of Southeast Asia. There's a really large Asian community in Sheffield, and I'm really blessed for that because they bring so much with them. So there's people who are native to Britain, native to England, as well, and there are people who have immigrated over, and they just have so much to give. If I could kind of summarize it, they have so much to give. They want to give knowledge, they want to give culture, they want to share whatever they have. You know, that could generalize for a lot of Southeast Asian cultures, but certainly for Indians, yeah, they want to share whatever they have. There's, you know, they're so proud of their culture and they want to share it with everyone. Of course, the music is incredible. Your theatrical side of things are fascinating to the Western world, because, you know, we think what we think is kind of like a big, amazing, let's say, dance number. You know, Bollywood comes along and goes, hang on a second, you know, those productions productions are just sensational. They are such an immense scale. So yeah, I love how much, you know, Indian people want to share what they have. You know, they don't kind of want to hide it away. They're like, yeah, look at this food we've got, look at this music, look at these beautiful structures we have, look at this stunning country we have. We want to give it all away. Everyone come and see it, or we'll come and bring it to you if you can't come and see it. So I just think that's just a wonderful quality. Everyone is so eager to share.
Thank you so much. That is so kind of you to say. So, as we're discussing about the social work you are indulged in, this initiative called STEM Power also comes into picture. So, what is
Yes.
STEM Power?
STEM power is it's in very early stages. Looking at kind of my own experience in getting into STEM, into science particularly, I can't really speak for the technology, engineering and mathematics, but I have worked with plenty of people from these divisions as well. And I notice there seems to be a very common story that people who have ended up in STEM have kind of ended up there by themselves. They haven't been guided, they haven't particularly been advised. They've had to figure it all out themselves. Now, in the UK, of course, in England, Great Britain as a whole, we're very proud of our educational system, but there are certain shortfalls that I think are still very much relevant today. And even though the conversations around STEM are a lot more prevalent, when you speak to the youth, when you speak to women, older women wanting to get into STEM who maybe are wanting a career change, there is no clear path or guidance as to how they can do that. And I don't know if it's because it maybe appears like it's self-explanatory, but it certainly isn't. But also of professional, a lot of people think that the only way you can get into it is with a PhD, or, you know, through the academic side, which is certainly the way that I'm going into it. But from the colleagues that I've met, there are people who didn't follow the conventional rules of British education who are still in STEM. And my passion with STEM Power is empowering people, particularly women, because women are very underrepresented in STEM in general, into knowing how they can...
Excuse me, I would just like to interrupt you. I'm sorry. But can you just make the word STEM clear? I mean, can you just explain in brief?
Oh, sorry.
Exactly.
So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Some people like to throw medicine in there as well, but for me, medicine kind of comes under the branch of science. So yes, women are very underrepresented in STEM. In science in particular, I believe we make up only a third of the European task force. I don't know if that reflects worldwide. I'm not sure if it's even less worldwide, but we also know when we look at kind of results for, let's say, healthcare goals, women in general, when there's an even workforce, say 50-50 men and women, there are better healthcare outcomes, there are better results, so that we know that it would be beneficial for there to be an equal balance of the genders across STEM, and certainly in science as well. So again, it's about accessibility. It's making sure that women know where they can go with the qualifications that they have. If they don't have any qualifications, where they can go from there, because there's a really terrible kind of stigma in British education that if you don't follow conventional routes of education, you won't amount to anything. And this is very unfortunate, because it is not true. The majority of people I know who didn't follow conventional education have done a lot better for themselves by this age. I think
same is true in many parts of the world. I think in India also.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know if it's because, you know, there's a lot of prestige associated with education, but education is becoming more accessible. So I don't think there should be prestige attached to it. Education, when it gets to a certain point, does become a choice. Further education is a choice. It shouldn't be enforced upon people, because university is very expensive all around the world, and we shouldn't be telling young impressionable adults that the only way that they're ever going to get to where they want to go is through university, because that isn't true. For some very specific roles, it is the easiest way, let's say, but again, I've seen plenty of people break those barriers, and I want to tell their stories, and I want to tell their stories to people who, you know, are wanting a career in STEM but just don't know how to get into it, whether or not they're freshly out of school, whether they're maybe much younger, maybe just starting secondary school or secondary education, but then also for people who are wanting a career change, and maybe they're wanting to come from something completely different and unrelated, but they want to have a career in STEM. So that's what STEM Power is all about. There's lots of very similarly named companies, but it's more kind of about the STEM power side of things, whereas this is more about empowering people and educating them into how they can get into STEM. And it is really for everyone. Of course, it's mostly focused for women because of the lack of representation, but I think the advice that will be given and hopefully the workshops that I have booked to run will benefit everyone.
So this is absolutely a very unique concept for me, and it is amazing. Like I've heard of, we usually hear of empowering women, or terms similar to that. But empowering people for something like that, like STEM, is really commendable, and that should be applied everywhere.
Thank you. I'm really excited to get started. I have a couple of bookings ready for when the current English lockdown lifts. Hopefully it's going to be lifting at the beginning of December, but we're just going to have to see. And I do have bookings ready for after those. I'm going to be going into a couple of schools and giving some talks on how to kind of encourage people and also kind of breaking the stereotypes associated with STEM. You know, if you're going to like use how the media depicts us, often we're kind of very reclusive, and don't get me wrong, some people are, but it's more about not putting us all into one box and making out like we're all the same person and that we all did exceptionally well at school and all of these things. That's not the case. We're a very diverse group of people, as with every profession. I don't know where that stigma came from, but it's incorrect. And I want to change that as well and show that as much as we're dedicated to our work, we do have lives outside of work as well, 100%.
True. So now moving on, talking about your profession, you said that you are a cancer research scientist, or more specifically a pediatric cancer research scientist. Am I correct?
So with the work I'm doing in pediatrics at the moment, I'm working across a number of different parameters now. I'm not just working in cancer. So cancer is very much my speciality. The trials I'm not currently working on any cancer research trials at the moment, just because I'm very new in my position, and we're still our priority at the moment is working on urgent public health studies. So a lot of the studies I'm currently working on are specifically COVID-19 studies. I'm working across all sorts of different ones. I can't kind of name them because some of them are commercial and, you know, I can't be seen to be advertising them. But yes, the majority of them are urgent public health. A lot of them are run by the government. Also, some of them are just collecting data. Some of them are just kind of watching what is happening. Some of them are a little bit more kind of investigative procedures as well. I knew that would happen as soon as I went into this role, with, you know, the situation currently being as it is. And the studies that I am currently working on have kind of been adapted to create an arm for the COVID-19 pandemic as well. So hopefully, I'm saying when rather than if it is all over, these studies will continue as they were before, and we will just kind of have a separate area for them. So yeah, I've not been employed specifically to be managing COVID-19 studies, but that is my workload at the moment. That's the majority of my workload, just because where I work is one of the biggest kind of institutions of its kind, and it's a very reputable institution of its kind as well. So we do provide a lot of research and a lot of information to a number of sources. So yes, I'm very privileged to be working there. I'm very proud to be working there. I've only been there a month, but I've had a wonderful time so far, and I hope to have kind of a nice long stay there. That's the plan, because I'm very happy there, and I'm sure that will continue.
Yeah. Right. So you have completed your master's in COVID-19 trials in pediatric research. So is that related to that, or is it under something different?
So my master's was in translational oncology, which is cancer research, but the knowledge that I've learned from that can very much be applied to the current situation and to my job as well. The research masters I did really broadened my understanding of the mechanical processes behind not just, you know, cancerous activity, but cell division in general, the activities of cells, which can just be applied to everything. And there was a lot of kind of microbiology elements, which was something that I didn't do in my undergraduate degree. My undergraduate degree was very clinical in radiotherapy. I literally trained to become a therapeutic radiographer. So kind of going behind the more theoretical application and the rationale behind treatments was why I decided to undertake this master's. And yes, it's been very beneficial. It's really kind of diversified my knowledge and my understanding of the processes behind what we do. It's kind of the whole bench to bedside approach. So yes, I really enjoy that element of it, and that's kind of why I ended up almost changing my career from a very clinical based, almost no research aspect, to pure research now. And yeah, I'd be happy in any kind of patient facing role, to be honest. I'm very lucky at the moment how I'm both working in a laboratory and facing patients. That's my absolute dream job. Very lucky to have that at 25. So I'm counting my blessings every day, like I've said. So yes, I'm very lucky that I kind of get the best of both worlds in the current position that I'm in.
Absolutely. So you are pursuing your master's in translational oncology.
I've just completed it.
Oh,
I passed it.
Oh,
I'm waiting to hear
great.
my final grade. I'm very optimistic, so I can't wait to find out what that is. I believe it's being kind of uploaded to the system as we speak. I won't find out during the middle of this call, but
all the best for that.
Thank you.
So
I'm anticipating good luck.
Oh. So can you just please explain in brief what the term translational oncology means?
So translational oncology is, well, in layman's terms, you can call it cancer research, but it's more looking at the research of cancer from a translational approach, a multimodality approach. So looking at all the elements that might be beneficial to be looking at when we're researching cancer, when we're researching everything to do with it. So not just looking at it from, a purely, say, chemotherapy perspective. We're also looking at immunotherapy, radiotherapy, different surgical techniques, but then also looking at the epidemiologic factors as well, looking at lifestyle choices, how they influence development of cancer, if they influence the development of cancer. Everything that we do in science and research in general is very much subject to change. And this is the thing when it comes to kind of the misconceptions behind science and research, is that people think that we're always trusting the results that we have. Of course we do, but we're also always trying to improve them. Almost trying to prove them wrong all the time and prove that they're wrong because we found something better. Yeah. And that's very much the driving force behind research. So I think that is the kind of almost the biggest misconceptions about it, is that we kind of think, right, on that very much, but it's to find something better. It's not to kind of say, all right, we've found something now, we don't need to look at that anymore. We're always looking at everything. And with cancer, even though it's such a niche part of the human body in general, it's so diverse, and every single cancer has such different features and different ways of behaving. And I think that's why it is also so difficult to tackle, and why we're not just kind of looking at therapeutics for it, we're looking at other influential factors when we're exploring it as well, knowing that it isn't just kind of this one-dimensional disease, or we can find the reason for it and sort that out. There's so much more to it than that. So I find it personally very exciting. It is the reason I get out of bed in the morning. I absolutely adore it. And I've personally been affected by it. I know plenty of people who have had a diagnosis, and of course I've dealt with, I've worked with many patients on it, and I see how destructive it is. And on paper, we should be able to sort it out one day. I mean, the idea with it is really, it was summarized by a very incredible person who was a lecturer on my course, is that we're not looking to cure it, we're looking to make it a long-term, a long-term kind of morbid condition. Rather than being something that we find a miracle tablet for, hopefully we're going to make it so that people can live with it and then eventually, pass away from something else, either old age or non-kind of cancerous related activities. And that's the aim, really, kind of making it more this long-term condition rather than something that, prematurely ends life. And I do believe we'll get there very much. Hopefully in my lifetime. I'm not particularly sure, because research is very slow most of the time, unless we're kind of trying to find a vaccine that's hopefully going to save all the problems in the world. But yeah, research is a very slow process because it is very heavily vetted. Yeah. So hopefully in this lifetime we will we'll make it so that it's more of a long-term condition rather than kind of a life-limiting disease.
I hope that day comes soon. So all right, so right now I'm just digesting whatever you said, and honestly speaking, I mean, this is too much a person could do at a personal level. I mean, it requires that level of calm. You have to be hardworking for that. You have to be passionate. You have to be motivated. And moreover, you need to have some serious time management skills for this. And I think you are one of, and I think you are one of those rare people who are able to handle this all together. And hats off to you for this.
Only just, like, literally, I'm just keeping my head above water like this. Sometimes I go under, believe me. And, you know, my weekends at the moment, I should be using them for downtime, but certainly with, you know, the Miss Universe Great Britain finals approaching, hopefully, you know, like many of the finals are coming up now, I'm trying to use every spare minute I have to prepare, but I'm always preparing for something. If it's not, you know, another competition, I'll be, say, preparing for an interview, preparing for some submission of some kind. But yeah, my time management skills, I would say they're exemplary, but most of the time I just don't have a life. This is my life. I make it so that this is my life rather than kind of having downtime. But I get exceptionally bored. So yes, I'm just exhausted all the time. Really.
And this does not end here. Let me tell you guys that she's also into equestrian sports. And I've heard that you have a horse named Pickles.
I do. I wrote in
I'm
this
excited
morning.
to hear to that. Listen to it. Yeah.
I wrote in this morning at the crack of dawn. He is approaching his golden years now in life. He is slowing down, albeit begrudgingly. He doesn't want to age. He still thinks he's 4 years old when actually he'll be 21 next year, which is that's quite elderly for a horse, especially of his kind of his stature. He's a big horse and he's done a lot. But he is still competing. He loves to compete. He's very expressive. So we will know when he kind of really wants to throw the towel in and just retire for the rest of his days. But at the moment, that's not the case. He's still very active. He looks about 10. He certainly doesn't look 21. But yeah, I've achieved some wonderful successes with him. All credit goes to him, of course, not me. He is exemplary. He's an incredible animal. He really he's a very special kind of horse. I haven't come across many like him before, and I'm very, very lucky that I've had the chance to ride him and work with his owner as well. So yeah, it's a real joy to have him, and he's still going strong. He's in winter mode at the moment. A very long coat. We've clipped him a little bit so that he doesn't get too hot, but yes, he hasn't been able, of course, to compete this year. So we're going to maybe assess things next year and see if we're able to bring him back into a level of competitive fitness. Hopefully we will, because he enjoys it. So yeah.
And is there a reason named Pickles?
No, I don't know. Horses have really strange names. They're very cute names, pet names, you know, like dogs and cats and things like that. You wouldn't usually give a horse a kind of a human name as such, but I have heard horses called Alan, Horace, Nigel, you know, which is really odd to call a horse a human name, because people just think you're referring to a person, or, you know, let's say kind of a European name as such. I always find it really hilarious. But yeah, Piggles it's like a pet name. His actual name is Pigsy. Don't know where that came from at all. It's really odd. I've never heard a horse called something like that before. But yeah, I mean, I always get slated by his previous owner for this, because she thinks it's really sweet. And it is a sweet name, but yeah, it's a really odd name for a horse. But horses are called very strange names in general. I mean, if you've ever, I mean, I don't know a lot about racing, but I do understand that a lot of the animals involved in that sport, again, are quite strangely named. So maybe it's just something to do with equestrianism. I'm not particularly sure. I haven't found an explanation yet.
But I like that name.
I do. It's cute.
Yeah. So the list does not end here. You are also a classical crossover vocalist and a Latin ballroom dancer.
Yeah.
I know who is a Latin ballroom dancer, but what does exactly a classical crossover vocalist do?
Classical crossover is basically, we don't fit into any genre, so we do a little bit of everything. So classical crossover, usually we're classically trained in some way, so we haven't been taught to, say, sing pop or sing kind of what's the word, a kind of conventional music. It's more classical. We kind of start with very old songs, you know, these kind of I'm trying to think of the word here, the folk songs and things like that, but not folk as a genre. Folk songs are kind of like traditional songs. And then but me specifically, I kind of branch into musical theatre, but I'm not purely musical theatre. And then I divulge in a little bit of classical as well. So when I was singing more regularly, I was a little bit more opera or operetta. I can't sing that at the moment because I haven't been keeping up the discipline with my voice. I prefer musical theatre. I absolutely adore it, but I don't also kind of have the full range associated with musical theatre. There's certain registers that you have to have very developed registers in musical theatre, certainly the belt register. I don't have much of a belt register. I can't belt to save my life. I wish I could, but yeah, my range is a lot more comfortable in the head voice and in the mixed voice as well. So that's kind of more my parameter, and that's kind of more where musical theatre songs sit as well. But you're not going to be hearing me singing kind of Let It Go and Defying Gravity from Wicked anytime soon, because they're just way too big for my voice. And when I sing it in my mix, it just sounds a little bit sad and a little bit tragic, really. So I stay within my lane when it comes to singing. I don't branch out. Like I've tried a couple of things and then thought, no, just stay in your lane, keep your head down. This is what you're supposed to do with that voice. I have a Disney princess voice, kind of to summarize as well. Quite weak, quite fluty, and quite pretty. You know, it sounds quite nice to listen to, but there's no kind of strength behind it at all. No, not at all.
Yeah, I watched your video in the Voice UK. So was that a classical crossover?
Yeah, so that song...
so it sounded like a mild opera. I mean...
Yes, so that, I would say I Could Have Danced All Night is one of the perfect examples of classical crossover. Not fully opera, not fully musical theatre, smack down in the middle. That particular performance was horrendous by my standards, and I'm still irritated about it to this day. I didn't particularly want to progress on the voice. I might as well tell you the secrets because I've told everyone nowadays, but I kind of went on the show knowing that I wouldn't progress. I didn't have time. The recording schedule actually clashed with my exams. And, you know, with how long I've been in education, I wasn't about to give it up some talent show. No offense. You know, I was very honest about that when I went in. And, you know, I kind of very much said to them, look, I can't make the recording dates. So even if I was good enough, please don't let them buzz me through because I can't make it. And that would just be naff. So I Could Have Danced All Night. And I said, right, I really need this to be good. I need it for my show reel. I need it for advertising. I need it so I can send it to clients and be like, hey, I've been on The Voice. Book me for your wedding. Or book me for your event. And yes, but then that when I actually recorded, I mean, I might be giving away all of ITV's secrets now. I mean, I'm not the first, so it's fine. I recorded at 10 o'clock at night. Now, I'm not a professional singer. When I sing, usually I sing maybe about 7, 8 o'clock at night while everyone's having their dinner. When it comes to 10 o'clock, I am tired. My voice is tired. I worked with an incredible vocal coach who was musical theatre royalty. She was wonderful. Her name was Maureen. And I think she was kind of more there like, hey, let's get some lessons out of this. Let's develop your voice. And I think we kind of, instead of just warming up for, you know, this performance in front of these very esteemed judges, who I was like, oh God, you know, we started working on my voice instead. And I was like, oh God, I've got to go out and sing this. By the time I got out there, I had such vocal fatigue. You can probably just start to hear it a little bit now, but I start to kind of husk a little bit because I have no stamina whatsoever. And that's my fault because I'm not a singer, you know, full time for a living. I do it on the side. I did it to get me to university, and I enjoy it as well. I'm trying to work on that, but you know, I've got a lot to do. If you haven't noticed,
absolutely, you've got a lot to do.
So yeah, and sorry about that performance. It certainly isn't my best, but yeah, it was a wonderful experience. I had a great time on that show. And when it comes to media in the UK, they very much, you know, they kind of focused on the pageant side of things. Now, the British media likes to say bad things about everyone, not just specifically pageant contestants. They say terrible things about the royal family, you know, esteemed members of parliament. They say horrible things about everyone. The media doesn't have anything good to say. No offense. I mean, the majority of people I've worked with in the media have been very pleasant, but in order to get exposure, they have to say bad things because it's scandalous. That's how media works. And it's unfortunate. But yes, the people I did work with were wonderful, and they tried to portray me in kind of the best way possible. You know, we did touch on the pageant things. They did talk about, there were certain elements I had to talk about for television because it's interesting. But then they also did focus on the cancer research side of things, and it was really nice of them to not just kind of forwards as this very one-dimensional person, a pageant queen who likes to sing. They didn't do that. They were like, hey, she does all these kind of things just like most people do, and you know, she's not just this kind of fairy tale character that wants to kind of come and play. You know, I was there for a reason, and I was there because singing was something that helped me get through education and helped me with my expenses, and I also used it for, you know, another purpose of entertaining people for kind of more recreational purposes as well. So yeah, they depicted me very kind of honestly, and I think very positively. which I would have thought. Everyone's like, oh, you're so funny. I'm like, I'm really not. It's just the way the TV made it happen. So thanks, ITV. I might not have got my show reel, but I did get a lot. I got a really nice positive, which I didn't expect at all. I thought I was going to be absolutely slaughtered after going on there. So that was really nice. I had a great time.
Right. So as a performer, I'm sure that you must have visited various places in your country and abroad, and that you must have some interesting incidents which you can recall and you can share with us.
Oh, that's a really nice question. So, of course, I can tell you about, I've just told you about The Voice. That was quite an interesting one.
Yeah.
So when myself and Stephanie Del Valle sang in Indonesia, so I'm not sure how it was depicted to the public, but that was really last minute. So, of course, Stephanie is a huge musical theatre fan as well. Yeah.
I thought that was rehearsed. I mean, that was so beautiful. Yeah.
We had one rehearsal, one. Luckily, me and Steph, of course, knew the song really, really well. We both know Les Mis very well. Basically, we went into kind of like a changing room. What happened is, the whole story is, we were at a charity event for country events in Indonesia, and all the directors were there, and kind of all the sponsors. It was just a nice kind of little get together prior to the event, because again, very similar to India. It's a huge event over there.
Please
so,
just repeat what you said, because I think there were network issues in between.
Sorry, I'm also talking too fast. So there was a kind of like a pre-gala event prior to the Miss Indonesia finals, where kind of the whole production team, the sponsors, everybody was involved. And we were invited along as well, because as you know, in Indonesia, it's a huge event, just like it is in India.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. And we were basically just having a bit of an ease up as such. There were some musicians there, we had some dinner, and they were just like, oh, you can sing, get on stage. And I was like, oh, okay. So what do you want me to sing? And they were like, oh, and what did we sing? I think I sang I Dreamed a Dream there, because we could just get it up on YouTube and plug it into the system. I know Barney Walsh, who toured with us as well, he played some piano, which was really nice. We had just kind of a jam sesh with everyone. And the organisers, this was the night before the event, said, hey, do you want to sing this tomorrow? I was like, oh yeah, sure. Because a lot of the gigs I've got have just been as a result of me saying, yeah, sure, why not? It's fine. And then, so we're like, hey, let's get Steph involved as well. Because, of course, Steph is adored in India. She can also sing. And it was a lovely opportunity to have us both on stage together as these musical theatre geeks, because we really were. She knew the song very well. I worked out some last-minute harmonies, and we just went with it. And it was great. Yeah, everyone thought it was like this really rehearsed thing, and it wasn't. We just did it in a room, worked it out, and boosh. Off we went, and it was fabulous, and it was so well received. But yeah, if people knew the truth behind it, hopefully they'd be more impressed. Probably less so. Professionals would be like, you dodgy thing, how did you manage to pull that off? But yeah, it was lovely. I mean, the sound equipment in there and the production team, they were amazing. They really they worked so hard to put it together. Yeah, we just went on there and we rehearsed kind of where we'd walk and things like that, but that was it. It was great.
It seemed like a fairy tale. Stephanie Hill and Stephanie Del Valle singing like fairies over there.
Steph told me that basically her name is very similar to mine in Spanish. So Valle is valley or hill, or it doesn't directly translate. So we were, immediately we were very good friends, of course, because we've got plenty of things in common. But people, we really loved that. We just thought it was fabulous, and so I think people would refer to us as the Stephanies, like for this musical performance, which was sweet. We were like, oh, we've got like a band name,
the Stephanie sisters.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, it was so good. We had such a good time there. Yeah, I've got plenty of stories to tell you, but honestly, I don't think we have enough time.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it someday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Stephanie, you are into so many things, and this is really such a great thing. And no wonder you were introduced as a contemporary polymath by the British Library.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, as a result of everything that I do. So I didn't know what one was. Of course, I knew who Leonardo da Vinci was, but didn't I understood that he was, a revolutionary in a number of different fields, but I didn't realize that had a term of polymathy or, as a Renaissance man. And I was invited to work at the British Library when they were celebrating his 300th anniversary. And for one, I was like, why are you approaching me? What sort of thing? I don't understand. And they were like, hang on a second, do you not know why? Like the point of all this? Do you not know that this is what you are? And I was thinking, what? No, I don't know. And they were like, oh, this is perfect. So apparently most polymaths don't know that they're polymaths because they just do it. They just do the things that they're, you know, and they just found this hilarious. The people who were on the panel and the experts, they were like, oh, this is great. You know, she doesn't know that she is one. She's a true polymath. And they were all making these references. And I was sat there wondering what on earth was going on. But yes, so it was a real privilege to be invited to work with the British Library because, of course, it's an institution of excellence worldwide, and to be recognised by them as well, and kind of as a modern Renaissance woman is the term that they used for me. And I think when you relate it kind of back to pageantry, and I wonder if this is what kind of the parameters they were looking at, is in pageantry in general and these competitions, women have to be so multifaceted now for these competitions. They did back in the 80s and 90s anyway. Now especially, they have to have so many different attributes just as a baseline level, not even before they become the national representatives. Like with the Miss World competition, there are so many of the fast track events. They have to be sporty, they have to be talented, they have to be able to model. And it's not about being model-esque, it's about being able to represent a brand as a physical spokesperson. What I've done has been working as more of a brand kind of taking use of the products, so you also have to be charitable. So then you have to be very resourceful and figure out ways for people to want to give you money to maybe a cause they haven't heard of before, but also educate them on it. So you have to be a teacher, you have to be so multifaceted. And a lot of these qualities, of course, translate over to Miss Universe as well, in a sense that you can't just kind of turn up on the night and hope for the best. You are an ambassador, and ambassadors do have to be very flexible, very versatile people. They have to accommodate, again, for representation, and represent not just kind of the demographic that they are personally from, but you're operating as an ambassador for your country. And the majority of countries are multi-diverse. Of course they are, because we have so much travel, and it's so easy for people to kind of change, and all of these different cultures to be able to integrate together. So you can't just be representing your kind of single things that you like and the things that you matter well, because it not also be what the country needs as well. So you have to be so versatile. So looking at polymathy in relation to pageantry, I mean, it's something I'd love to do it like a TED talk on, how pageantry actually is the only industry in the world that promotes polymathy as a basic standard. They expect this of you. School doesn't encourage it. School, if anything, is your art, and if anything, it's beneficial to be both, because you need the creative thinking of the arts to progress in the sciences and in mathematics, and in the kind of the very theoretical based subjects. So to me, it doesn't make any sense to why we're trying to put people in boxes in education. It baffles my mind, because you're so much more adaptable if you have a variety of backgrounds. It doesn't make any sense to me why they're like, right, you can only, like, say when you apply for UK medical school, you have to be very science-based and mathematics-based. Usually the subjects you would have to take are biology, chemistry, physics, and mathematics, or further mathematics, or maybe even a language. Whereas now they kind of say, well, why can't people take English as well? Why can't people take drama? Why can't people take music? Why can't people take a design technology? Because if anything, it's interesting. We're doing the 3 sciences that you need for basic medicine, and then of course you progress when you're in university. But why do we have to kind of make everybody take these standards? Because that doesn't make a doctor. A doctor isn't made from science knowledge. A doctor is made from being able to apply that knowledge into the person that they see in front of them, and that requires a deal of creativity. And if we're trying to squash creativity, or say that people who are creatives can't branch across and people who are scientific can't branch across, then what is the point? We have to. I don't understand where that's coming from. I don't know if it's maybe because it's easy to define people, and it maybe helps people to see clearer career goals. I'm not particularly sure. I don't see the point in it at all. So yeah, polymathy and pageantry, and this is why pageantry must survive, because it is the only industry out there that is promoting it and making sure that women remain multifaceted, and of course men too.
Yeah. pageantry, I mean, it provides a platform for polymaths, most of the polymaths.
100%, yes. And I fully operate as a polymath in the year that I was working. I never knew what I was facing. Sometimes I would go and perform somewhere. Sometimes I would go and physically be involved in something. I would be working as a healthcare professional one day, or as a kind of healthcare professional on a secondment as such, and then I would I'd be performing in some other way. I would always kind of be having to switch between these different things that I could do. Sometimes I'd go and dance, sometimes I would be giving a lecture, and you have to be so adaptable because you never know what situation is going to be presented either. My director would just kind of get these these requests, and she'd say, can you do this? I'm like, yeah, sure. But if we're not encouraging polymathy in the contestants, they're going to lose so many opportunities because they're not going to be able to say yes. So True. That's the thing. Opportunity presents when you're able to take it as well. So we have to push it. Again, two things I'm very passionate about. Consistent medical care across the world, and polymathy in everyone. And it's never too late either. It's something that has to start in childhood. That could be not further from the truth. If anything, polymathy is easier when you're older because you have the brain capacity for it, and you have the logic and the experience to apply it as well. So many people take up hobbies later on in life, and it's because they have the capacity to. It doesn't have to come from these prodigal 7-year-olds present, and the teacher's like, oh my gosh, they're getting a Nobel Prize. That's not how polymaths. I do think it presents a lot later in life. Leonardo da Vinci was a lot older by the time all of these discoveries that he contributed actually came out to into the public domain.
Totally agree to this. And let me tell the audience that Stephanie is also one of the finalists for Miss Universe Great Britain 2020. And congratulations for that. And also from whatever I've seen, I can say that you are one of the front runners of the pageant, and I see you ending at a great position.
I don't like using that term because I think it can be quite demotivational for the other candidates, and I'm very, very lucky that people think that, and I'm so lucky to have so much support, and I think that's very it's so kind of people. But I think it's more because I've been in people's peripheral vision before, and I've been around a while, when actually the kind of women that goes for these competitions, they are all of such a high standard. They are all women, let's say, who want more, and that's the driving force behind a lot of pageant competitors. They might not fully realize what it is exactly that they want yet, or what they want to do with that platform, but all they know is that they want more, and that they know that they have something to give. So yes, that it's very kind that people are saying that, and when people are talking about hot picks and things like that, and I appreciate that, and I do appreciate kind of the ethos behind that. That's very kind, because we do it with the World Cup, we do it with the Olympics. We like to predict who we think is going to prevail. Of course we do. It's fun. But yes, I was a contestant once, an unknown contestant who never got in the hot picks. I didn't get in any hot picks for Miss World at all. Everyone, I remember all the comments like, where does she come from? I was like, hey, I was top 10 in a lot of the fast track events. Thank you very much.
And this is happening a lot this year. I mean, Miss USA, Miss South Africa, the results are completely different from the hot picks this year.
And I think that just goes to show that these women are all of this very high standard. And I think when it comes to these titles, and this is also why I'm approaching this I'm not going to take it personally if I'm not successful. Of course not, because as with any kind of position like this, as much as people say it's a job interview, of course it's far more than that. It's also about being the person that role needs at the time. And I don't think it's about the person needing the role as such, because we're all very established women before we even go into this competition. If anything, that's a requirement, that these women are very established. But it's more about, in the current circumstances, in the current kind of, the parameters that the role needs and the representation the role needs. It's more about kind of looking amongst the contestants this year, who is the most suitable for that position. I mean, arguably, you could say it's about what's relevant. It's about what's kind of currently happening in the world. And as much as you can say that, it's also about who is going to kind of, again, be adaptable to the situation. Everything is changing very quickly at the moment. We're not going to be focused on coronavirus forever. This will hopefully eventually become a piece of history. So we've also got to be looking forwards from that. So as much as I think there's a real temptation for a lot of countries to maybe kind of crown people in the medical profession, because of course they're knowledgeable and they can talk about it. That's very niche as well. everybody has been affected by this pandemic. Every single person. There's not a single business that's walked out of this, without some kind of hindrance. Everyone's been affected. So by just kind of homing in on one profession that we think is the most suitable, I think that narrows down a lot. Everybody can be representative in this situation, which again is why I think we're seeing such a broad range of results as well. So yeah, I certainly couldn't call it. I know I'm competing against some people I've admired for ages on the British pageant scene, so I'm just going to be there like, oh my god, I've been watching you for years. Hello. There's a lot of kind of all stars that are coming back for their last attempt because they'll be aging out next year. So I'm just going to be there like, oh, I watched you in this, and they're just going to be thinking, what are you doing? But that's just me in a nutshell, to be honest. So I'm really looking forward to meeting them, because there's some people I've kind of been in touch with and spoken to previously, but I've never physically met. So hopefully, if the event is able to run in a way where we can either be face to face, in a separate, a separate distance room or something, it would be lovely to meet these people and just have a good old pageant gossip with them. We all talk about the same things. It's such a specific experience. So so thank you for saying that. You believe in me. I very much appreciate that.
And I hope to see you back on our podcast soon, but with one more title added in front of your name, hopefully.
Oh, I'd love that. That would be so great. I just sat over slash. I'm like, oh. No. I'm giving it everything I've got. I mean, of course, I am. I'm in a very, very fortunate position that I'm working full time at the moment, because, of course, there's a huge. I mean, the unemployability rates in my country at the moment are the highest they've ever been in history. So I'm counting my blessings that I am working all the time. Of course, that makes preparation for a pageant quite difficult, because my hours aren't as much as they're supposed to be the normal 9 to 5. They are often longer because I'm having to, cater for the demands of work. So I'm doing everything I can, within reason, of course. They don't want a representative who is completely burned out, because that would be completely and utterly pointless. I wouldn't be able to do the job, of course. So I'm trying to be sensible. I'm not going mad. But I've been preparing all year. I've conducted all of my fundraising throughout the year in various ways that I've been able to. I've conducted a couple of physical concerts, but also online concerts, and I've really tried to keep it steadily going, in the hope that it would eventually get a date and be able to start working towards that. And all the updates that we've been given so far is just kind of carry on, in the hope that we'll be able to solidify something soon. So that's all I can do, really, is just carry on with preparations.
It's seen that you're working really hard for this, and that's really very good. All the best.
Thank you. Yeah,
and I would just like to tell the audience that the sash you see at the background, that is the same sash she got at Miss World while she was crowned Miss World Europe 2017.
I'm trying to see if you can see anything else here as well. Like I'm trying not to kind of dismantle my set here. Bear with me one second. So there's my
Miss United
there's my UK one as well.
So
there we go.
It's
you
very
had a
good
bit of
to
a
see
bedroom
those
tour as
sashes
well.
in reality. I've been seeing them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're hung on my wall. But that's not what they're for, of course, but I want to see them, so yeah.
So
we got connection issues again, don't be surprised.
No problem. I wish you all the best for the pageant, and yes, may you deserve the best of everything.
Thank you very much. I'm
so
giving
now,
it my best.
So I guess we are at the end of the podcast, and before ending this, I would like you to express how you feel and how was your overall experience chatting with me on the podcast.
Oh, I really enjoyed it, of course. I really like the questions that you asked. I know a lot of people are quite scared about asking some questions, whether it's appropriate, whether or not, I don't mind. I'll talk about anything. If anything, I mean, don't get me wrong, this chat hasn't been in any way controversial, but I am happy to address controversial topics. Projects? What am I on about? Oh, gosh, you can just tell, can't you? It's been a long week. What can I say? No, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and being on the Insight podcast as well. And thank you so much to all the school and to all the students as well for listening in. And it's been a pleasure to be hosted by the Don Diva. Sorry, I said that wrong. Don Diva Students Library as well. So thank you so much for having me. And it's I hope this podcast hopefully inspires some people, if not to get into STEM, but also into just assessing your options. That's what I can tell everyone to do. You do not have, if I could give any advice to any students watching this, is that you do not have to follow a conventional route into your career, into your life, or anything. And I know it's very kind of like, oh, well, you can say that, so it's easy for you, but that's only because I'm where I'm supposed to be. It's been a 10-year process to get to where I am, and anybody can do it. Absolutely anyone, and you just got to find out how. And I hope that you have the resources available to you all for you to be able to find where you need to go, and you can find the advice that you need as well. So good luck, everyone. Good luck to all the students at the library.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And I would like to thank you on behalf of Dhondeba Students Library and our college, Dr. VMGMC Solapur. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed your time with me. And
I did.
Thank you for joining in. And it's time to say goodbye now. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.